All right, Jesse on Fire, welcome back to the channel. We are going to do a breakdown of the Justin Gaethje and Michael Chandler fight because I actually have some intangibles on this one. I stay away from fight breakdowns generally just because people do them better than me, but I'm going to, in certain cases, I can give a real solid breakdown. And in this case, this is one of those cases because there are intangibles that I'm going to talk about that I would be shocked if we hear on other channels. And I'll tell you right when I get to them. The other cool thing about this video is I'm going to send it to Michael Chandler and he's going to watch it before any of you guys because I told him that I would. And also, I can't upload to YouTube right now because I have this video, Tyron Woodley loses $5 million, that's going bananas. And I can't disrupt the algorithm. I got to let that thing run its course. But I have thoughts that I'm going to get down. And just so you guys know, Chandler will have seen this before you guys. And I feel special. You can call me a name dropper if you want. I think it's cool that I can send this to Chandler. I do, okay? I think he's cool. I think he's cooler than I am. I think he's cooler than most of you. And he's the one that's fighting Justin Gaethje. So I'm actually very curious what he's going to think about my breakdown. So anyway, if you like the content, subscribe and ring the bell. Tell your friends. Now, I am still going to give an a completely objective breakdown here because Gaethje is actually one of my favorite guys to talk about as it relates to fighting because he is an interesting character. It's not just like, you know, oh, he's got tremendous reach and he is precise with his blah, blah, blah. Like Gaethje, there is an additional story beyond just his skills, you know? So, but let's just talk about his skills, okay? Like if you look at Justin Gaethje right now, you are looking at Justin Gaethje version 2, right? I am a 100% believer. I mean, it's not even, I don't even think it's there's nothing to even talk about. There is Justin Gaethje 1 and Justin Gaethje 2. And the dividing line was right after he fought Dustin Poirier and Eddie Alvarez and he lost 2 in a row. And then he changed the way he fights. He really did. Because his way of fighting prior to that, which says so much about his personality. You know, one of the reasons why it's got to be, I mean, if you're a fight fan and you're not a fan of Justin Gaethje, there's something wrong with you. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say they didn't like him. And that's because he's super likable, number one, but also if you understand him, like, how could you not respect him? Like, and okay, so let me just do this in my eyes. Okay, what Justin Gaethje used to do is he used to reckless abandon. Like he was trying to be the most exciting fighter that's ever fought, and he was just gonna go in hands down. He was gonna swing, bang. He was gonna take punishment to give punishment. And the reason he did that is because the way he looked at it was, you'll break first, right? Like that's how he viewed fighting. Like you look at most other guys and you're like, you know, talk me through what your goals are in the octagon. Like, how are you thinking about whether or not you're doing well? And they're like, you know, they'll talk about footwork. They'll talk about distance control. They'll talk about precision striking. They'll talk, or grab, whatever. Like it's a precision, you know, thought process in terms of whether they're performing well or not. Gaethje was a fucking sledgehammer. He was a blunt instrument. And the way that he was measuring whether he was doing well was simple. He's like, you'll break before I will. Like, you'll break before me. And you think about that as it relates to how he trains his balls off. He's one of those guys, you know, if you've ever been on a team or you train, whatever, that like, you can just tell. It's like, you know, you're running up some mountain and it's the worst thing ever. And there are some guys where you just look and you're like, good God, what is driving this guy? This is miserable. I hate doing this shit. And they're just the one that's like, I'll be last to break. Everybody will break before me. You know, I'll break everyone. And you know what's so funny about this? Actually, this is, okay. So I'm going to just tangent a little bit about this. So when I first started doing Jesse on Fire, like just first started doing, I was probably maybe like 6 weeks in. And I did a breakdown about Gaethje. I can't remember who I was talking about. Like it was Gaethje and someone. I think it was for the Gaethje and, actually, yeah, it was Gaethje and Ferguson. It was before the Gaethje and Ferguson fight. And I said something just like this, like where I was like, you know, his goal is for you to break before him. Like you'll break first. And I did that video. And then he did the Joe Rogan podcast with Trevor Whitman. And he was talking about his methodology. And he actually said that. He said, I never knew I had this change because everybody was breaking before. Like I didn't know I could be broken because everybody was breaking. I was breaking all of them. And I was like, I'm being serious. Like I'm not, in this one case, I'm not trying to give myself a hand job. I'm telling you, that was a moment for me where I was like so proud of myself, where I was like, damn, I read that to the fucking letter. Like I looked at it, like not just how does he fight, but how he actually thinks about it. And I just fucking nailed it. And I was like, yes, because out of his own mouth, is exactly what I said. And I made a video where I was like, remember when I said this? Hey, remember when I said this? And here's him on Joe Rogan. Anyway, but yeah, like, again, if you look at the fight game the way I do, and then you find out, you understand the way that this dude looks at the fight game is, I will break them before no one can last longer than me. If you just hit us both in the face with the same shot, they'll break first. That's so gangster, dude. Like, it is so gangster. And I loved him from the beginning. He's also super exciting. But then he lost those 2 fights in a row. And you can fight however you want if you win, but that feeling of loss, like, you lost. You're a competitor. You lost, like, if you've got the mind of a champion like Gaethje does, of course you're going to reevaluate. You're going to be like, okay, well, that didn't work twice in a row. You can lose one time and kind of go, wow, that was kind of a fluky thing. And then if you go break the next guy, then, no harm, no foul. But if you go in and you lose twice, the way that he did, where he got broke. Now, he took bigger shots than they did, obviously, but like, his body failed on him, right? So, and he's like, oh, I can't fight the same way. So he goes to Trevor Whitman and goes, look, I want to change my strat. Now I want to be the champion of the world. And they revamped the way that he fought. No more blunt instrument and just like, you can hit me in the face if you want. Now, controlling distance, circling, like controlled, measured aggression, as opposed to just wild murder machine. And what happens? Runs through everybody. Runs through James Vick, runs through Oliveira, runs through Tony Ferguson, and I think I'm forgetting one also, but knocks them all out and then obliterates Tony Ferguson. Who's the third? I'm forgetting about the one there's another one before Tony Ferguson, and I can't think of who it is, but whatever. So you got Gaethje 1, Gaethje 2. And, Gaethje 2 is a vicious low kicker. I mean, like, he kicks the fucking shit out of people's legs. And that's one of his main strengths. Like, he's fast, distance control, incredibly dangerous with his legs, and he is a very precise striker. So, and he also historically has had a pretty granite chin, right? So when you think about that, and you think about someone who's fighting against him, because now after the Khabib fight, we know he is beatable. But if I'm fighting against him, if I've ever been knocked out before, if I've ever taken a shot where I lost control of my motor skills to where I ate a shot that was heavy enough to where I was like, oh man, I can't protect myself, for a limited amount of time, then, at the very least, when you're standing with Gaethje, you're exposed to that potential. So you have to be very, very careful. You have to be very measured. What we saw in the Khabib fight, though, is if you are successful in getting Gaethje on his back, he is much less dangerous. I mean, to put it mildly, right? And so if you look at Michael Chandler, this is a very, very simple fight to break down. Number one, what do you notice about Michael Chandler's legs? Okay, his legs are fucking tree trunks of granite, dude. Like, I was watching him train on Instagram, like, yesterday. And now when I know I'm talking to Michael Chandler, I'm like, dude, his dick is fucking enormous. I'm just kidding. But I'm being serious about this. I was looking at him train and I was like, dude, his legs, and I just imagine kicking one of his legs, because I can kick real fucking hard. That's one of the only things that I will, when it comes to martial arts, like, any of these fucking guys will beat the fuck out of me, but I can kick real fucking hard. That is like, if you had a big group of pros kicking a bag and it was like, let's see how hard you can kick a bag, that's one where I would definitely not be embarrassed to go, here, let me try. And I would actually think that I had a shot to kick the fucking bag as hard as them, or harder. I could kick the fuck out of a bag. But, that's the one, that's the one thing, dude. But so I imagine kicking Michael Chandler's legs, and they are just enormous, dude. Like, you just, it's like you if you know what it feels like to kick a dude's leg, when it fucking hurts, dude. Like, you kick and their leg swings around, their body, whatever. But like, you look at Michael Chandler's leg and you're like, your target for where you hit him right in the right spot is very small. Just because, like, he has kind of shorter legs, but the fucking top half of his legs, like, he's just got so much meat there, dude. Like, it's going to be much harder to hurt him. And here's the other thing. How explosive would you consider Michael Chandler to be? as explosive as anybody in the lightweight division, if not the most explosive guy. Like if he decides that he's going to, move forward fast, I can't think of anybody who does that faster or more explosive than Michael Chandler. So when you think about Justin Gaethje as it relates to his leg attacks, okay, A, he's not going to be able to hurt Michael Chandler as well as he hurts other guys. B, oh God, let me knock on wood so like he doesn't hit him in the fucking perennial nerve or something. But B is, as soon as he kicks, knowing that he's vulnerable on his back, Michael Chandler can explode forward faster than anyone else. So every time that Gaethje, turns to throw a kick, he's exposed to Chandler exploding forward, catching his kick and putting him on his back. So Gaethje has to be very careful with his kicks versus Michael Chandler versus almost anyone else. I don't think there's anyone else that matches up better against Gaethje's leg kicks than fucking Michael Chandler. As a matter of fact, I would almost say I know that to be true. Because when you throw a leg kick, what are you worried about? I guess there are some guys who could throw a real long straight cross, but to do that, you're eating that leg kick, and fuck that, dude. Fuck that. If you're fighting against Justin Gaethje, and you're gonna I'm gonna say this right now. I mean, look, fighting is basically a destruction derby, except your car is your body, right? So sometimes it makes sense for you to take a shot to give a shot if your shot is gonna do more damage than the shot that you take. But I'll tell you right now, if you've seen Gaethje's career, if you're willing to take a clean kick to the back of your leg in order to land a cross on him, I don't think that's a good trade, dude. I really don't. I don't think, you're going to have to catch him absolutely perfect to knock him out. More likely you can catch him partial, and he's going to, kicking you clean is a lot easier than punching you in the head clean. And so that is not a good trade-off, right? But for Chandler, you throw that kick, he's exploding forward, and he puts Gaethje on his back. It's a much better scenario for Chandler. Also, Chandler has titanic power. He has so he can also land counter shots. If he clips Gaethje, Chandler can knock anyone out. At the same time, Gaethje has knockout power, and Chandler can be knocked out if he takes a clean shot. That's the thing. That's another reason why Chandler's so exciting is there's no one who's going to eat a clean shot from him. No one, right? You get hit clean, you're fucking hurt bad. But, he takes chances to deliver those shots. So it's a really interesting matchup, dude. Really, and all you can know for sure is that it is going to be an explosive fight. There's just no scenario. It was like the Gaethje and Tony Ferguson fight where you just know there is no scenario where this is going to be boring. None. No scenario whatsoever. Just impossible. But yeah, man, you think about Michael Chandler's wrestling pedigree and you try to imagine, you've already seen Khabib on top of Gaethje, which I think in fairness, people are like, oh, Gaethje has no ground game. It's like, dude, he did have fucking Khabib on. It's Khabib, dude. But Chandler, Chandler's grappling, if he's on top of Gaethje is in serious trouble. Serious trouble. So, yeah, it's a really interesting matchup. Now, the intangible that I was alluding to that no one else is talking about is this. And I actually forgot about it. I was like, what, wasn't there something else I was going to talk about? Oh, yeah, the intangible. So, the intangible that no one is talking about is this right here, okay? Now, how everyone who is in the fight game, okay, you go into a training camp, you focus, you train, and then you go fight, right? Now, your circumstances or your psychological makeup or how you're focused going into a fight camp and a fight, of course, is going to have a tremendous impact on how effectively you not only train, but then fight in the octagon, right? And I am definitely of the opinion that there's this Goldilocks zone in terms of fighters and money. Now, there are some guys, of course, who are born to be champions and they, the money is kind of irrelevant to them. But for most fighters, it's if you're getting underpaid, that's not a good place to be, because then you're stressed out, you're worrying about that. And if you've made a shitload of money, that you can get complacent. Look at Tyron Woodley. I think it's a perfect example. I know we've talked about this before. Oh yeah, Tyron's broke. I don't believe it. I think that his drop off is because he's not broke. I think he saved money and he's, but there's a Goldilocks zone where you're making enough money to where you're not worried about it. I would say for a fighter, I don't know, maybe like 400 grand per fight is like right around there, 400 to 500 grand a fight. And so there's still the lofty goal of getting to be champion where you're gonna make millions, but you're also making enough money that you're comfortable. So you can focus, not be stressed out, and also not let being rich poison your brain, right? With Gaethje, he has been in a strong Goldilocks zone. I mean, I don't think he was making 400 or 500 necessarily, but he didn't have like kids or bills or whatever. And so, I know he was making good enough money that he wasn't stressing out about money at all. What's different about this fight is this is the first fight where he's got a mid 7-figure bank account, right? Like when he fought Khabib, he had a belt, right? Like he had a piece of that pay-per-view. He made millions of dollars. So he hasn't fought since October of, is that October 2020? Is that right? October 2020? Yeah, October 2020. And so since then, things have changed for him, at least financially. And you don't I'm not saying that that's going to make a difference necessarily with Gaethje, but it is a different thing. He's a millionaire now, right? And especially if I can gauge people as it relates to their finance, Gaethje's smart with his money. I would basically bet my life on that. He's not a guy who's going to go out and vomit money. Gaethje's a guy who's like, let me make sure my family's taken care of. Let me make sure I save this money so that no matter what, I'm cool. That would be my guess for Gaethje. But nonetheless, now he's cool, right? If I don't make this work, I'm fucked thing, that is not there anymore, And again, it might not matter, but maybe he's a little bit softer. Maybe he's a little bit softer. Now his teammate Kamaru Usman, obviously that is not the case with him because he's defended a bunch of times. He definitely has millions and millions of dollars, and he's still smashing people into the ground and getting better. So Gaethje, highly likely that'll be the same for him. But it is something to consider. He is well off now. He's got real money. To a person who, to a person like Conor who I don't think there'll ever be enough for Conor. He's like a more guy, But for people who aren't more guys, there's a certain amount of money where you're like, okay, well, so money is just not really a factor in my life anymore, And it's got to feel weird, dude. It really does. That's got to feel so weird. Everybody's worried about money. But I would imagine Gaethje is there where money's not a thing for him anymore. And so now we're going to get to see if fighting still matters to him, because he's not fighting for the prize anymore if the prize was financial stability. So we'll see. I mean, maybe it doesn't matter, maybe it does. So anyway, that's what I got. So if you like the content, subscribe and ring the bell. Oh, Jesse, you didn't pick a winner. Yeah, I know. That's because I don't do that. I just tell you what the considerations are. And obviously Chandler's my boy. And so I don't need any more reason to stress out about this fight, okay? I already told him, I was like, I'm betting on Gaethje because that way, if he wins, it'll dampen the blow a little bit. But I think Chandler has a real good shot in this. And if he wins, immediate title shot. And Chandler is born to be champion, man. I'm serious. He was born to be champion. The guy is a fucking boss on the microphone. Anyway, but yeah, I love you guys and I love this motherfucking sport. I love Gaethje, I love Chandler, I love everybody, man. I just do. Anyway, excited for this fight. Peace.